What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY in the overall market. I'm also going to break down some very important levels for Tesla, not to mention news that came out. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. So check out this offer before they run out of these free stocks. Anyways, when it comes to Tesla, I just want to say that we're just range bound so far. So Tesla has this resistance around this 217 area, not to mention 220. If we break past that, we'd be looking for a nice push. If we end up dipping below this 214 area, we'd be looking for this gap fill down below and also this trend line of support at this yellow trend line right here. So overall, Tesla's just stuck in the middle, going back and forth and back and forth. We did see some volatility as we pumped and dumped today. And what else contributed to this volatility in the markets was Apple. Apple made some crazy moves today. We got this big dump followed by a big pump and another dump. And now we're trying to hold this 217 support. So Apple's also range bound. Apple had this big product launch event, which is very insightful. However, it only caused some volatility. We're not really seeing one direction that's like more dominant. So we're just watching to see which way Apple goes. But for now, it was pretty good news. And this is what fueled a lot of volatility in the markets, even for stocks like Tesla. Now, Tesla also had some big announcements that came out. That's part of why it's in the green, outperforming the markets. That's because their Chinese sales were looking pretty good. Their Chinese sales year to date were pretty good in August of 2024. They weren't the greatest, but they're still pretty good. So what they basically did is they sold about 63,456 vehicles in the domestic auto market in China. That's about a 37.27% increase from July 2024. So month over month, a nice increase of 37%. However, if you look at the overall wholesale data, we sold about 87,000 vehicles in August of 2024. Just 23,000 of them were exported to foreign territories, leaving the rest of them to be sold domestically to China. Now, on top of this, I just want to mention that despite the numbers looking pretty good month over month, they weren't as great year over year. We're actually down about 1.9%. We did about 64,694 sales domestically in August of 2023. So our sales were a little bit weaker than then. Overall, Tesla China was able to sell about 388,000 vehicles in China's domestic market during January to August, which is a decrease of about 0.57% year over year, which is still not bad. That's actually not bad. Their sales are pretty good, matching last year's. That's not bad considering the fact that they did mention the fact that they're slowing down production for Model Y. But that's okay. Not bad for Tesla. Pretty good sales overall. Nice growth month over month, especially. We're still keeping up with last year pretty well in China, so not bad. And then I also want to mention this news right here. Tesla's going to be expanding into the Philippines. They're starting some more hiring, so that's some good news for them. We could be looking for potential launches in a lot more Southeast Asian countries. And once again, there's been a lot of talk about that. I think it's very, very cool with a lot of things that are going on right here. They're looking at some job openings in the Philippines from product managers, operations specialists, and many other specialists like that. So cool stuff. We could be looking for new. There could be something very, very cool that's opening there. We could be looking for new developments. Maybe it has to do with Tesla Energy. A lot of different things that could be coming out. They haven't really announced much quite yet, but we'll see how this goes, at least for them, what they're trying to do right over here. So cool stuff. Just wanted to give that at least some attention. Lastly, when it comes to our data, there's not really much coming out for tomorrow. It's just very minor data, so we don't have to worry about anything in terms of like the market or the pre-markets volatility. So that being said, let's talk about Tesla. How is this looking? So we're just range bound right now. It's kind of boring. If we want to turn bullish, we want to break past 217 to 220. If we break 220, we're going to be looking for 222 and 225 to look for a nice, breakout. If we're bearish, you want to see Tesla basically establish 214 as our support, possibly even a lower level. I think what's going to happen is we're going to get a bounce, and the way it's going to pan out is going to be through two possibilities. So we're either going to see Tesla sort of like dip like this back down to fill this gap, maybe as soon as tomorrow, and then we just eventually try to bounce like this, forming a nice double bottom. Or what could be happening is we're not going to do that. If we just end up holding support and we just start breaking past 220 from here, we could just start pushing even higher from here and just continue from here. That's also another possibility. And Tesla's getting ready for a nice bounce going into CPI for Wednesday. So we'll just have to wait and see. I would have liked to see this come down to fill the gap first before we try to bounce, but this is what could be going on with Tesla because when you zoom out of the charts, okay, we have this yellow support right over here that's holding Tesla up very nicely. So that's acting as our support right now, and Tesla's holding it so well so far. So this shows that we might try to continue to hold support. When you zoom out, let me just show you this on a bigger time frame so it's easier to see. When you look at the 4 hour time frame, okay, for the short term, I'm not saying for the whole year. I'm just saying that for the last couple of weeks, Tesla's been uptrending. We had this low here, we came up, made a higher low, came up. We're making higher lows, and we're doing a good job at holding our yellow support trend line. So I presume that if we do get a dip, we might try to bounce off this trend line and continue higher, or we could even just continue higher from here. It's trying to look that way. We'll see if we get one more dump before we continue to bounce or not. It all depends on many different factors. Now, another factor will also be CPI, so we will see if that helps us with the bounce. But so far, I'll be looking to see if Tesla could hold support. Now, on SPY, we're looking pretty good. I just want to call out that we're also just range bound on SPY. SPY needs to try to break past 547 to start pushing up for the next resistance towards 550. I think my line got deleted. I'm going to double check this. Sometimes that happens. So we have this 547 area right here. If we break through this, we're looking for basically 550. This is going to be our 200 EMA. And if we don't hold 545, I'll be looking for 543.8, followed by the next support at 542. And if the 542 area breaks, there's going to be a bigger dump coming all the way down to fill the gap. So 542 is going to be a key level. We did touch that only to rebound. So it's still trying to hold that as it's acting as support. This is our gap support right here with this red zone is. So we're just range bound. We're just holding support, trying to get pushed back up. But every time we go up here, we just get rejected. So I'm going to be watching two possibilities on SPY. Do we continue to hold this support? Are we just going to hold support here and not come back down to fill this gap and just start uptrending going into CPI? Are we going to start pushing like this going into like Wednesday? Or are we about to lose support? So your confirmation is going to be based off our levels. As long as you hold above 543.8, I think SPY does favor trying to hold up, consolidate like this and maybe get a breakout if we try to break the high. But if we hypothetically end up dipping, okay, if we come down here to the support again, this is when you want to be a little bit concerned because if we lose the support, then SPY is at risk of coming down to fill this gap, and this could cause us to dump all the way back down. So honestly, because we're so choppy, the best thing to do is just wait and watch your levels and give the market the time it needs. We just have to be patient with this one. We're just range bound, so we'll see which way we break. For NVIDIA, it's the same thing. Essentially, we're trying to hold up very, very well so far. So what I like about this is we have a new trend line that's being established for the shorter time frame. This is now acting as our support. We're actually riding this quite nicely, just like this. So if we were to lose 104, I'd be looking for a dip back down towards the 102 area. And if we hold this trend, we'd be looking for a push for this 107 area as well. So we're doing a good job at holding up. I think that there's a chance that we may continue to pump. But whether or not this continues depends on a lot of data. I think that so far, NVIDIA is looking like it's attempting to reverse here. As long as we try to hold above 104, we could be looking for a push for 108. So we'll see how it goes. We are range bound for now, but it has potential to push higher as long as we hold this trend line. For Bitcoin, we dipped only to get a big bounce. So Bitcoin's forming a nice cup so far. This could even be establishing an inverse head and shoulders. So it's doing a good job. We're looking at 57,000 as our resistance. Our main support is currently around this 55,600 area. We could actually dip a bit and then continue higher if we break 57,000. So I see potential in Bitcoin. For ES, we're just a little bit range bound as well. We're going to be looking at resistance around this 5,500 area. If we break this, we could be looking for a bigger push. If we lose 54.50, we could be looking for a dip. We'll see if this holds support and tries to rebound, so watch for that very carefully. For others out there, we also have NQ. NQ is also trying to hold support. It's just range bound right now between 18,700 and 18,500. Whichever way we break will turn into a much bigger move, but we're just range bound. QQQ is looking kind of range bound as well, but I see potential in it. So we're going to be looking at this gap support right here. This is going to be our support around this area, around this 451 zone. And the main resistance to watch for is also well up here around this 455 area. So we'll be watching these levels, especially as we develop over time. and we're going to be watching to see how we end up moving. So if we end up losing the 451 area, we could come down to fill this gap. If we break past 455, we'll be looking for a much bigger pump all the way up to 458. Otherwise, we're just range bound on the QQQ for the time being. We're just going to wait and see. Same thing with Apple. Apple is trying to get bought back up around this 217 area, but we have a tendency of rejecting off this 220 to 221 area. We're also just range bound completely. So it's not doing the best of jobs at continuing to hold up. So I would say that although we're range bound, we could dip a little bit lower to 215. So we'll see if that holds. For a few more, we have the IWM. This is dipping a little bit. We'll be watching 208 if that holds. If it doesn't hold, we'll be dipping towards 206. If this does hold, we're looking for 209 or higher. Might dip just a little bit. For Coinbase is also trying to ride this another trend line back up. So it's doing a good job at holding up. So far, I think it's doing well. We'll see if we continue to hold this or not. If we do hold this, we could continue to push for this 156 area or higher. And if we end up projecting and losing 152, we could be dipping back down to fill this gap. So I think there's a good chance we try to continue to uptrend. So it's doing a good job. Amazon's also holding up quite well. If we end up losing 174, we could be tipping back down towards 172.5, then eventually fill the gap towards 170. If we break past 176, we could try to push higher. We're also just range bound on Amazon, just waiting to see which way it breaks. It's trying to uptrend right here, but I'm not 100% sure if we're going to lose support or not. We're just waiting to see which way it develops. We're completely range bound on Meta. We're trying to hold this 502 area as our support zone. If this fails, we're going to be coming down to fill the gap to 499. If we break past 510, we turn bullish. We're just range bound for now. Microsoft has been dipping, but although there was a nice short opportunity here, I just want to say that we're now back to being range bound. If it loses 402, we turn bearish. If we break 404, we turn back up. We're just range bound for now. However, Google's the one that looks kind of weak. We're losing 150, so I see a risk of us going down to 148. So I do see some downside potential in that. But honestly, guys, the market's range bound right now, so we're just going to have to wait, give this the time it needs to see which way we develop. And I'm going to be very patient as we could kind of turn either way. I do see a risk of Tesla maybe dipping a little bit more, getting closer to about the 215 area again, but it's nothing too bad. There's no sign of this losing key support. So for now, we just have to assume we're going to be stuck within the ranges. With that being said, that's it for your update for now, guys. I want to thank you all so much for listening. Have a great day. I'll see you guys in a couple of hours for another update, and peace out.